Hi, welcome to Lapland. The Formula One season is over and Finland's Mika Häkkinen is on top of the world, enjoying his first ever World Championship crown.
And we're on top of the world, quite literally, to celebrate another great season. It's F1 Christmas special, direct to you from the Arctic Circle.
So, welcome to the programme and to Mika Häkkinen's home country. For the next hour, apart from experiencing some of the stranger aspects of life here in the Arctic Circle, we'll be looking back at one of the most exciting Formula One seasons ever, and to the drama and twists and turns of 1998.
We'll have a profile on the new world champion and remind ourselves of the extraordinary difficulties he came through to reach the pinnacle of the sport. Plus a special look at what goes on in the world of Formula One once the season is over. If you thought they all took off to the nearest desert island and sipped cocktails swinging in hammocks, you couldn't be more wrong. And to prove it, we spend a day testing with Damon Hill in Barcelona. We also take a look at Benetton's new £12 million secret weapon.
We also pay a visit to Formula One's newest team, British American Racing, as they get ready to make their debut in 1999. So there's plenty to pack into the next hour, plus a few surprises. So what better place to start than race one of the 1998 season in Melbourne, Australia.
It was fitting that one of the most dramatic Formula One seasons for years should start with major controversy down under. The two McLaren Mercedes cars of Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard totally dominated qualifying and the race in Melbourne, managing to lap the entire field. But a communications mix-up meant that Häkkinen made an unnecessary detour into the pits and lost the lead. Then, dramatically in the closing stages, McLaren switched the order of the cars, Coulthard moving over to let his teammate by. Later he claimed he was merely keeping his side of a start-line agreement. Whoever reached the first corner first would be allowed to win. Michael Schumacher's hopes of breaking Ferrari's 19-year championship drought took an early bath, but remarkably this blow-up was his only technical retirement of the year. Reigning champions Williams were finding it tough going. Jacques Villeneuve was lapped for the first time in his Formula One career, as was Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who nevertheless came through to finish in third place. But the question everyone was asking as we left Australia was, who could stop McLaren? We didn't get an answer at the next race in Brazil. Instead, we got political intrigue, as McLaren's revolutionary brake steer system was banned, following a protest from rival teams led by Ferrari. On track, the McLaren still dominated, thanks in large part to their Bridgestone tyres, which were vastly superior in the early races to the Goodyears used by Ferrari, Williams and Jordan. While Häkkinen and Coulthard cruised to another effortless 1-2, Schumacher chased them hard for third place, despite this stall in the pit lane. He then joined a furious battle between Alex Wurz and Heinz-Harald Frentzen, which featured one of the passing moves of the year. Jordan's dismal start to the season continued, with Ralf Schumacher going off on the first lap, while Damon Hill was lapped twice and then disqualified for being underweight. Just when you thought it was getting predictable, the form book got turned on its head. Häkkinen said it would take a miracle for anyone to beat McLaren in Argentina. But the miracle happened. Michael Schumacher outraced, outpaced and outthought his rivals to take the first of his 6 wins in 1998. It was all action from the start, with Schumacher and Häkkinen slugging it out in the early laps. Then controversy, as Schumacher and Coulthard collided in their battle for the lead. Both cars sustained damage, but Coulthard slipped down to 6th place. Behind them, Eddie Irvine was hitting a run of rich form en route to 3rd place, the first of his 8 podiums in 1998. Coulthard's eventful Argentine Grand Prix continued. This collision with Jacques Villeneuve sidelined the champion and again dropped Coulthard back to 6th place. Also keeping close company in Buenos Aires, Damon Hill and Sauber's Johnny Herbert learned the hard way that it takes 2 to tango. In the closing lap, Schumacher went off track, but he got away with it. It was his first off-track excursion in 1998, but it wouldn't be his last. Sadly for McLaren, Häkkinen had already settled for second place, so couldn't capitalise. Normal service was resumed in San Marino, but this time it was Coulthard who dominated proceedings, snatching pole and winning the race. Amazingly, it would be Coulthard's only win of the season. But McLaren didn't make it easy for themselves, reliability proving their Achilles heel. Mika Häkkinen was shocked to retire from his 100th Grand Prix with gearbox failure. Coulthard built a 20-second lead, but in the final laps his gearbox began to overheat, allowing Schumacher to get tantalisingly close to a home win. Once again, Eddie Irvine found a place on the podium, collecting yet more points for the Ferrari team. Jordan looked more competitive, having made big changes to the car. Sadly, Damon Hill's progress was spoiled by hitting Alexander Wurz at the start. Imola also saw the final flourish of the fabled X-Wings. The outlandish aerodynamic devices were banned on both safety and aesthetic grounds. After a quarter of the season, the points table looked like this.
Took me off. Well, here we are in our cosy Lapland eyrie, in the warm, out of the cold, reindeer skins and all. Let's talk about the season, first 4 races. You know, after those first four races, my heart sank, because I thought it was going to be 1988 revisited, when McLaren dominated everything. And much as I admire McLaren, I didn't want them to win everything, but it really did look as though that Adrian Newey car, the Mercedes-Benz engine, the Bridgestone tyres, which they'd been bright enough to ask for, had got it made for them, that they were going to be unbeatable.
Yeah, and of course they lapped everybody in the race in Melbourne the first time out. Car looked fantastic, as you say. A lot of controversy then, because the drivers were almost squabbling over who was going to win sort of after you, sir. That went down very badly, caused a lot of bad feelings here and there. I think it's irrelevant, really. I mean, team play has been in Formula One since the beginning, back in you know, the late 40s.
Yeah, but they were in hot water twice, because it wasn't just the controversy over one giving way to the other. It was the brake pedal thing at McLaren.
That's right, that was the next race. Of course, their second brake pedal that was helping them turn the car through the corners was banned. And I think that hurt McLaren quite a lot.
It really did make a difference?
I think it did. If you notice, I mean, from Melbourne to Brazil, they lost a lot of advantage over the opposition. And then on to Argentina, of course, the third race, where Schumacher won. He was charging at the beginning of the race, then pulled a bit of a brave...
Charging in more ways than one.
Yeah, a bit of a brave move on Coulthard, who was leading the race. David, I think he probably felt his nose was ahead. He had the right of way. Probably should have realised Michael was there. I mean, David finished the race in 6th with a point. How Michael won it, I don't know. He went off later on, of course.
Yeah, well, I certainly didn't see that Schumacher win as indicating that Ferrari were going to get really close to McLaren in the championship by the end of the year. But there were 6 points then between Häkkinen in the lead and Schumacher in 3rd place. 4 races gone, 12 to go, lot to do. Well, in the high-tech world of Formula One, it doesn't get any more amazing than Benetton's incredible bit of multi-million-pound new kit. They do the most fantastic things with it. Martin went down to their Enstone headquarters to check it out.
This is the latest and greatest wind tunnel in Formula One. You can see the actual tunnel behind me, but here is the nerve centre, the master control room. But what does it all do? Let's ask James Allison, head of aerodynamics here at Benetton. James, a £12 million facility, why do you need it?
Well, as you know, the aerodynamics on a Formula One car are one of the most significant factors influencing its speed. But more importantly, to Benetton, once the team boss has signed a driver, a tyre deal and an engine, after that, during the course of the season, the single biggest thing that we as a team can influence is its aerodynamics. And this means that we have to spend a lot of time and money to try and make them as good as possible. Standing down here gives you a good feel for the sheer size of this construction.
700 tons of steel and 15 kilometres of welding. The whole thing takes 10,000 horsepower to run it. That's 14 times the power of a Formula One car. It's absolutely enormous. Here we are right in the depths of the wind tunnel. It's like being lost somewhere in the middle of a jumbo jet. It's a bit spooky up here. And this is where it all begins, down there with a big fan. Doesn't look much from here, but you wait until we get down there. We're in a big closed tube. The air circulates around this building every 5 seconds. Now to do that, you need something like this. A big fan, 5,000 horsepower, 60 tons. They had to drop it through the roof. And it sits on a 200-ton seismic block. This is the only way you'll generate something near to Formula One speeds. The air is controlled at 21 degrees centigrade at all times. It then passes through the big gauze behind me called the settling chamber to stabilise the air before it moves into this, the main part of the wind tunnel, to do the real work. To give you an idea of the scale of this thing, just watch this. As you can see, it's absolutely enormous, and that's how they build the wind velocity so high. So we've seen how the high velocity air arrives to this point. Now most of the work here will be done on models up to 2/3 scale. This particular one is half scale. Neil Waterman's head of model production here at Benetton. Neil, why do you use models as opposed to full size?
Basically it allows us to test a lot more pieces, and for example, for any given piece that makes it onto the race car, we will have tested maybe 30 or 40 variations. The most important area of the car aerodynamically is really the rear end. The diffuser is really where the major performance comes from. But for any one of the changes to it, we really have to re-investigate the whole of the rest of the car to sort of validate the changes.
So there's a knock-on effect, a snowball effect. If you change one small area, it affects another area.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, you've seen the components of this fantastic new wind tunnel, but this is a new experience for me. I'm going to sit inside the full-size mock-up while they're blowing the wind over it at 150 miles an hour.
Miles an hour is the kind of speed you'll be doing over the start-finish line at Silverstone. They used a full-size model in the wind tunnel when they're checking out the cooling on, for example, the brakes, the gearbox and the engine. They also have a look at the airflow coming through the cockpit, checking the screen, the mirrors and the driver's head protection to minimise the turbulence and the lift on the driver's helmet. The aerodynamics on this car are quite good, but as you can see, my head is moving around quite a bit. Putting your hand outside of the cockpit is like putting your hand outside of your window of your road car at 150 miles an hour.
So, back now to our review of the 1998 season. After the San Marino Grand Prix, the championship was rapidly turning into a three-horse race between Michael Schumacher, Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard. Little did we realise what was coming up with the Spanish Grand Prix and the next incredible series of races.
Spain was always likely to be a McLaren walkover. The Silver Arrows had done most of their pre-season testing in Barcelona and had the place tapped. Once again, Häkkinen didn't disappoint, taking pole and cruising to his third win of the year. Coulthard followed him home with Schumacher again best of the rest in third place, despite a 10-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Irvine played the loyal number 2 for Ferrari, keeping Fisichella behind him until the Italian got impatient and tried this ambitious pass. Afterwards, the pair had a free and frank exchange of views. Fisichella's teammate Alex Wurz was again on form, taking 4th spot. Spain also brought a smile to Jackie Stewart's face as Rubens Barrichello picked up 5th place, breaking the top team's stranglehold on the points. Schumacher maintained that 75% of Ferrari's performance deficit to McLaren was in the tyres and hinted that unless he got a tyre equal to the Bridgestone soon, the championship might be lost. After Monaco, he thought it was. Ferrari was nowhere as Häkkinen danced in the streets, having taken his fourth and favourite victory of the year. It was drama all the way. Frentzen found the barriers with a little help from Irvine. Coulthard's Mercedes engine blew up massively while the Scot was looking good for second place. At least it was a short walk home. Then Schumacher and Wirtz got stuck into each other at the Lowe's hairpin. Wirtz had nothing to lose, Schumacher everything. The Ferrari was damaged, but it was repairable, and after losing 3 laps, Schumacher rejoined in 15th place. Alex Wirtz was lucky to walk away from this terrifying shunt at the fastest part of the circuit. Jean Alesi suffered heartbreak, his Sauber retiring from 5th within a few laps of the flag. Arrows was there to pick up the pieces, and its only points of the year, with Sarlo 4th and Diniz 6th. Häkkinen's lights to flag victory gave him a 22-point lead in the championship, the biggest he would enjoy all year, while Fisichella was delighted to finish second and Irvine picked up another podium. The turning point of Ferrari's season came in Montreal. Goodyear gave Schumacher a tyre he could do business with, and he made the most of it, winning despite 2 dramatic incidents. This explosive race started with a bang as Alex Wirtz tested his Benetton strength to the limit. Amazingly, he went on to finish 4th in the spare car. At the restart, Häkkinen retired dramatically with another gearbox failure, while Trulli and Alesi got intimate at the first corner. Coulthard led until a throttle linkage problem forced retirement. Schumacher grabbed his chance, but he got into hot water after his first stop when he took Heinz-Harald Frentzen off the track. The stewards took a dim view and gave him a stop-and-go penalty. After a spirited fight back, he came upon Damon Hill in second place. Afterwards, Schumacher lambasted Hill for weaving in front of him, but few were convinced. Once past Hill, he soon caught and passed race leader Fisichella, who was nursing a gearbox problem, but held on for second place. Irvine recovered from a first lap puncture to grab yet another podium. And both stewards finished in the points. Barrichello was 5th and Jan Magnussen scored his first ever point in 6th. The team were delighted with the upturn in performance, but it was too little too late for the Dane. He was dropped a few days later. Ferrari's summer of fun continued at Manicourt. After the first aborted start which had favoured the McLarens, Schumacher and Irvine got the drop at the restart, and Schumacher drove away. The Ferrari number 2 dug in, determined to hold Häkkinen back throughout the whole race. It wasn't easy. This desperate lunge shows just how frustrated Mika got. Any hope of David Coulthard affecting the result was ruined by a refuelling problem which forced him to make no fewer than 4 pit visits. After a lacklustre start to the season, Williams looked in better shape thanks to some major changes on the car. Reigning champion Jacques Villeneuve, yet to find the podium after half a season, did the next best thing and finished 4th. As Ferrari celebrated its first 1-2 since 1990, Irvine taunted McLaren, claiming it had now blown its title chance. Häkkinen's 22-point lead after Monaco had been whittled down to just 6 at the halfway stage. The losers were Jordan and Prost, both still pointless after half a season.
We didn't mention David Coulthard getting his only win of the year at Imola, and then he was second again to Mika Häkkinen in Spain. But if anybody asked me what Grand Prix they should go to, I would say Monaco, because he's got absolutely everything. And to me, Mika Häkkinen's drive at Monaco, after he'd been so unlucky in previous years, was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's so easy to make a mistake around Monaco, touch the barrier or whatever, trip over a back marker. Häkkinen did actually touch the barrier early on in the race. Remember, Coulthard was pushing him extremely hard. Then it was a significant point for Coulthard. His engine blew up, and it was the first of 4 races where he didn't score. I think he scored 1 point actually in the next 4 races. Brilliant win for Häkkinen, as you say. And Michael Schumacher seemed to be just making a bad job of it all day.
two wins in succession for Schumacher then in Canada and France. But it looked as though he was up to his old tricks again in Canada, didn't it? And this time it was Heinz-Harald Frentzen out of the pit lane, and off goes Heinz-Harald.
Yes, but somehow Michael Schumacher gets through it all to win a race. Fisichella should have won that race. He threw it away. I don't know. He just didn't push hard enough, I think. Michael came through despite a stop-and-go penalty. But then the story's really developing because Hakkinen had a failure off the start line and none-scored, and Schumi gets a slightly lucky win. And the pattern was beginning to form.
Is Michael just too forceful, in your opinion?
Not at all. I mean, that thing with Frentzen...
He's a racing driver.
It's so easy. It can easily happen. You're coming out of the pit, so your mirrors are looking down the pit lane. You can't really see somebody alongside you as you're joining the racetrack. Michael's aggressive. We all respect him for that, and that's the rules that everybody should play by.
Well, Ross Brawn, Rory Byrne, Goodyear tyres, they were all starting to come good with Ferrari, starting to close the gap between Ferrari and McLaren, because now, with 8 races to go, Michael Schumacher had leapfrogged David Coulthard, moved up to second in the championship.
Dare I say this, it's time for a break. But I promise you, if Murray here catches anything while you're away, rest assured we'll give you an action replay. Well, welcome back to the F1 Christmas special. Nothing doing here, so on with the show. When we left you, Ferrari had scored a 1-2 in Magny-Cours, a spectacular result, but nobody was ready for what was going to happen at Silverstone.
Michael Schumacher had never won the British Grand Prix before. No one will forget the way he managed it this year. It was the most bizarre end to a Grand Prix in living memory. In atrocious conditions, Mika Hakkinen challenged Schumacher's claim to the title Rainmaster, quickly building a big lead. David Coulthard desperately wanted to win on home soil, but his challenge ended in the gravel trap. The other local hero, Damon Hill, was also out of luck. The weather soon became so bad that the safety car was sent out to control the field. Schumacher had passed Alex Wurz under waved yellow caution flags and was belatedly given a stop-and-go penalty. But the stewards had applied the rules wrongly and failed to notify the teams. Amid confusion, Ferrari brought Schumacher in to serve the penalty on the final lap, and despite protests from McLaren, held on to the 10 points. There was a kind of joy for Eddie Jordan as Ralf Schumacher finally got the team off the mark with 1 point for 6th place. Hakkinen was lucky to make it to the finish in 2nd place after a couple of high-speed spins. His championship lead over Schumacher was now just 2 points. But McLaren weren't finished yet. At the next 2 races in Austria and Germany, they regained the initiative, and this time it was Ferrari's turn to stumble. The battle was fierce off-track too. McLaren made allegations in Austria that Ferrari's recent form was due to suspicious electronic systems and threatened a protest, but no protest went in and nothing was proved. A rain-soaked qualifying session led to a topsy-turvy grid, with Benetton's Giancarlo Fisichella on pole and Jean-Alesi Sauber alongside. David Coulthard lost out, qualifying in a lowly 14th place. The start once again proved disastrous for the Scot. He collided with both Arrows drivers and all 3 cars were forced to pit. While the Arrows retired, Coulthard changed the nose. His comeback to finish 2nd was one of the best drives of the season. Schumacher too was on the comeback trail. He enjoyed a massive scrap with Hakkinen in the early laps, but an unforced error while pushing hard in 2nd place dropped him down to 16th. His recovery and pass on Irvine for 3rd place raised a few eyebrows in light of new rules restricting team orders. In Germany, the Silver Arrows came home in perfect 1-2 formation. Mika Hakkinen's 6th win of the year, giving him control of the championship table. Better still from his point of view, Schumacher and Ferrari were off the pace all weekend, the Germans struggling to make it home in 5th place with a car which clearly wasn't working. Jacques Villeneuve put in his best performance of the year so far to reach his first podium of the season. Also hitting rich form was Damon Hill. After a desperate first half to the season, Damon took fourth at Hockenheim, and with Ralf Schumacher in sixth, Jordan's renaissance was underway. Ferrari's performance in Hungary was nothing short of a masterpiece. Schumacher went to Budapest needing a big score. He came away with maximum points after a dramatic mid-race tactical switch from 2 stops to 3 stops. It was a finely balanced chess game, and McLaren moved the wrong piece, bringing Coulthard in first rather than Häkkinen. This handed the lead to Schumacher, who was able to push hard and build a big enough cushion to keep his lead after his final stop. A handling problem in the late stages dropped Häkkinen down to 6th place. He was lapped by Schumacher just before the finish. Coulthard upheld McLaren honour with 2nd place. Jacques Villeneuve had another strong run for Williams and picked up his 2nd podium on the trot. And once again, Damon Hill followed him home in 4th. With just 4 races to go and 40 points available, the gap between Häkkinen and Schumacher in the title chase was now down to 7 points.
Well, 3/4 of the way through the season, and really the only 2 constructors in with a shout were Ferrari and McLaren, because Williams had only had 3 podiums and they were last year's constructors champion. Jordan had only just started to score points, and the incredible thing is, if you look at those 4 races, they break down sort of into 2 pairs, Britain and Hungary, with Michael Schumacher winning both of them in very different ways. And that Silverstone race was quite incredible when you think about it. Terrible weather, safety car out, Mika Häkkinen spun and was jolly lucky to get back, and Michael Schumacher wins stationary in the pit lane. Absolutely unprecedented. But for me, I think the most amazing race was Hungary, because it was a strategical tour de force. Ross Brawn of Ferrari brought Michael in 3 times, 3 sprint races, and he won.
Yeah, Ferrari definitely outsmarted McLaren in Hungary, and they could use Schumacher well in those circumstances. Going back to Silverstone, they've changed the regulations for 99, incidentally, such that that won't happen again, where you win a race sitting in the pit lane serving your penalty after the race has apparently finished. But you're right about the pairs, because Austria and Germany was a 1-2 each time for McLaren. They appeared still to have the out-and-out pace if something else didn't go wrong. Brilliant drive from Häkkinen in Austria. Under a lot of pressure, remember, in the early stages from Michael, till Michael flies off the road, bouncing through the gravel trap. Any other driver would have been out of the race. Michael gets back on and still finishes on the podium. Coulthard gets stuffed up on the first lap, has to storm through from the back of the field. Brilliant drive, probably his best of the year, I think, for Coulthard. And then Germany, a very dominant performance, 1-2 again for McLaren, on home turf, of course, with the Mercedes engines. Well, at least I'm not having to drive for once, unlike the current Grand Prix stars. As soon as one season draws to a close, the next begins almost immediately.
Yes, there's not much chance for a holiday. In fact, we've already been to Barcelona with Damon Hill, testing for next year.
Well, it's only the 1st of December and I'm on my way to Barcelona for the 2nd test of the testing season, which runs right through until the start of next year in March and April, March in Australia. And we've got a lot of work to get through to prepare the car, and I'm going to have to slog my guts out going round and round in circles, and I'm really looking forward to it. Basically, this is the hard bit. Winter testing is the jobbing part of the job, where we have work we have to do, and somebody's got to do it, and that's me. Gonna be a bit bumpy here. Go dump. Usually you're looking forward to what the day has to offer and what you might find out with the car and the development of the car. Something might come a bit which will give you an edge, which will make you feel more confident for the next race, which in this case is not for a while. In a day like today, I will do probably 60 laps, sometimes you get to close to 100 laps. Well, you need, the other aspect to it is you need to practice. It's the only chance drivers get to actually practice their art. It's not like being a golfer or being a tennis player when you can go out and hit balls. Practice, practice, practice. Every time a car does a lap, it's costing, you know, thousands of pounds. So drivers need testing because it keeps them in tune, keeps them on sharp. It's not even 10 o'clock yet. We've done 2 runs. The first car we had a problem, an oil leak, so I had to stop running with that one. That was actually the car that I raced in Suzuka. And so far I've only managed to do a total of about 10 laps with it, and we've had nothing but trouble, so we're thanking our lucky stars for it happening in Suzuka. And so now what we're going to do is change the car and test something. That's not supposed to happen, but it does happen. It means a lot of work for the guys. You can see they're already getting stuck into fixing it. In testing, you know, you do have the occasional jump, but this test, we just happen to have 2 cars with us, so it won't hold us up anything. Yeah, okay, well, it did quite a lot of damage. Yeah. It's 2:30 now, and we've done 51 laps and destroyed 1 car, had lunch and tried a lot of things, but we're just doing 1 more test. We'll persevere until it gets dark. We've done 73 laps, which is about 13 laps more than a Grand Prix distance. We've run out of miles on the engine, basically, so we have to stop. But good days, you know, useful testing, and things keep improving, so it's good.
Plenty to do for 1999 then, but let's get back to 1998. We left you at the Hungarian Grand Prix, that brilliant win by Michael Schumacher at Budapest with the help of master tactician Ross Brawn. That closed the gap to just 7 points as the circus rolled into Spa for the last 4 races of the year and that quite incredible Belgian Grand Prix.
The Belgian Grand Prix had everything, great racing and high drama. There was a terrifying 13-car pile-up at the start. Luckily, all the drivers and spectators walked away unharmed. It also saw Damon Hill's first victory since his World Championship in 1996 and Jordan's first win ever after Schumacher had controversially crashed out. The World Championship leader was eliminated at the restart. Häkkinen on intermediate tyres didn't have enough grip and round he went. A resurgent Damon Hill leads for Jordan, but is powerless to resist the advances of Schumacher, who makes a bold move under braking for the chicane. As Villeneuve, still on intermediates, spins out. Having spun early on, Coulthard was in a lowly 8th place as the race leader came to lap him. With a 34-second lead over Hill and his second stop due imminently, Schumacher could afford to take it easy, but clearly he was in no mood to wait. Coulthard was slower on acceleration than Schumacher, who failed to read what the McLaren was doing and hit him hard. Initially, the German thought the Scot had backed off deliberately, and he went to voice his anger. This left Damon Hill leading the race, and Damon handed Jordan its first ever Grand Prix victory. Schumacher and Coulthard kissed and made up before the Italian Grand Prix, but Ferrari knew that their chances of the title had slipped. Although Schumacher snatched pole with Villeneuve alongside, it was the McLarens who got the better start, as Schumacher dropped to 5th by the first corner. Häkkinen was struggling with his tyres and decided to let his teammate Coulthard go past. The Scot opened up a 10-second lead, but then disaster. The Mercedes lets go, and amid the confusion, Häkkinen loses momentum. Schumacher draws alongside, and suddenly it's a straight fight for the title. Damon Hill was enjoying another strong run after qualifying a lowly 14th. By lap 11, he was up to 6th place. As Schumacher pulled away, Häkkinen's brakes played tricks on him, and he spun. He recovered, but the brakes didn't, as both Irvine and Ralf Schumacher sailed past him. McLaren's reliability gremlin had returned when they needed it least. Häkkinen nursed the McLaren through to 4th place despite another scare. He and Schumacher were now level on points with 2 races to go. Pure emotion, Italian style. Another Ferrari 1-2 and the first shared podium for the Schumacher brothers. With only 4 points from the last 3 races, Häkkinen needed to reverse the rot in Luxembourg, and he delivered. It was without doubt his finest drive in Formula 1, keeping his nerve and taking the fight to Schumacher. It was his 7th and most important win of the year. Ferrari had pole position and got the drop at the start, with Irvine getting between Häkkinen and the leading Ferrari. Unlike Manucourt, Irvine failed to hold Häkkinen back. The Finn was irresistible. He took a gamble at the chicane, which paid off for him. He then set about catching Schumacher, and when the Ferrari made its first stop, the Finn put the hammer down. When he pitted 4 laps later, he had done just enough to keep the lead. On German soil, he had out-Schumachered Schumacher. Try as he might, the Ferrari #1 couldn't get on terms with Häkkinen, who soaked up the pressure and held on to the checkered flag. It was a 2-horse race. David Coulthard trailed in 3rd, and there was a good scrap between Fisichella, Wirtz and Frentzen for 5th place. But all eyes were on the title hopefuls as they contemplated the 5-week wait before the decider in Japan. Formula 1 is about real highs and real lows, and there isn't much in between. Häkkinen won the world title, while after 5,000 miles of testing for this one race and a dramatic pole position, Michael Schumacher lost out at Suzuka by something as simple as stalling at the start. After Jarno Trulli's problems had aborted the first start, Schumacher's transmission overheated on the 2nd parade lap. As he went for first gear, clunk. He was sent to the back of the grid and the title looked lost. Only a miracle could save him now. He tore through the field 22nd at the start. He was up to 12th after 1 lap and 7th by lap 5 when he encountered the Hill-Villeneuve battle, which slowed his progress. After a blisteringly fast pit stop, Schumacher was up to 3rd and flying. At the front, Häkkinen held Irvine at arm's length. Then the turning point. Takagi and Tuero collide at the chicane. Schumacher picks up debris on his tyres. Blowout. As he struggles to regain control, it's game, set and match Häkkinen. For the 2nd year in a row, Schuey ends his season sitting on a wall. The current Formula 1 field gets a 4th world champion, and Ferrari's title drought stretches to 20 years. The blowout was a sad way for Goodyear to end its career in Formula 1. Also bowing out in Japan was Tyrrell. After 30 years of Grand Prix racing, the name was retired, to be replaced next year by BAR. Boosted by Honda power, Damon Hill's 4th place hoisted Jordan into the top 4 in the constructors' table for the first time, as Benetton slipped to 5th. Schumacher sportingly congratulates the new champion, not just on his title or his 8th win of the season, but on a great year of competition at the sharp end of Formula 1. More of the same in 1999, please.
Like him or loathe him, and I like him, you have to admit that Michael Schumacher had the most terrible luck in Japan, because ironically it was a Goodyear puncture that took him out of the race, and Goodyear had done more than anyone else to get Ferrari up front in the 2nd half of the season. And then I really think he lost the World Championship in Belgium when he drove into the back of David Coulthard. Contentious, yes, but the fact remains that if he hadn't done so, he would have got 10 points and almost been home and dry.
Yeah, but remember, I mean, Michael's luck ran out in Japan for sure, but stalled on the grid. Some people saying it was him. I think his car had overheated, but he didn't drive that lap around the 2nd warm-up lap around to the 3rd start of the race at all.
Yeah,
well.
True.
He'd been off the road twice, then he went through some debris, and possibly that's where he got his puncture from. So, but finally his luck did have to run out. At Spa, he was pushing very hard again, 37 seconds in the lead, pulling away 2 seconds a lap. He didn't need to take any risks.
Should have taken it easier?
I think he should have done, yes. But at the end of the day, he's a racer. I think he'd convinced himself that McLaren was going to mess him around. And there was a lot of controversy after that, and both drivers learned a lot from that Spa situation.
But Damon won. 22nd win. He can do it. You know, he put the doubters away there, because he showed that if he's got the right car and he can still do the job.
Yeah, I agree with you. And talking of doubters, Mika Häkkinen certainly put a few to bed in the Nürburgring, of course. I mean, people were saying, did Häkkinen and Schumacher change helmets for the day? Because it was Häkkinen putting in the blistering stints in between. Very good strategy by McLaren this time. Michael looking a bit second rate, and Mika really taking the championship by the scruff of the neck. I think it was the turning point, the critical point for him.
A lot of people said Michael Schumacher's been there and done that in World Championship terms twice. Mika hasn't. He's going to crack. He didn't. He won.
Well, he's soon back. Looks like he's had a pretty tough season too. Good time for us to take a break, but don't go away. Plenty left yet in this 1 hour Christmas special. We profile the new world champion and a look at the new kids on the block, British American Racing.
I'll tell you that the Finns, the male Finns anyway, have got a reputation for being a rather reserved lot. And Mika Häkkinen is certainly no exception. But there's more to the new world champion than meets the eye, as James Allen found out.
The Finns may be quiet, but when the local hero is going for the World Championship, they let their true feelings show.
Finland was basically very excited about the whole championship, the whole year, and particularly the last Grand Prix. They kept the restaurants open and some discos open, the bars open, so people can stay there overnight and see the race in 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. The friends told me there have been some big parties, you know. That is actually one thing what I miss a little bit, because I would like to see that myself. What kind of feelings the people go through.
Mika Häkkinen's achievement in 1998 was not just to win the World Championship, but to do it by beating the best. Michael Schumacher will not forget his season-long duel with Häkkinen in a hurry. McLaren gave him the best car in the field, and the Finn did it justice, taking 8 wins, all of which were pretty special.
It's fantastic. First of all, it is fantastic. And it takes a long time until you start realizing you're world champion. And because it's not the situation when you wake up in one morning and you look in the mirror and say, wow, now I'm world champion, now I experience it. It's not like that.
It's been a long haul for the young man who started karting aged 6. His natural talent shone through as he won the Finnish Championship 5 times. He came to the UK in 1988 to develop as a racer in the toughest proving ground of all. After winning the British Formula 3 Championship in 1990, he jumped straight into Formula 1 with the Lotus team. The once great name was on the slide by then, but his 2 years there taught Häkkinen a lot about surviving in Formula 1 and putting in the hard work.
It was good fun actually, and one I think what I most realized also is all those years what I did back. I did not do those years for nothing. Everything was worth it. Every lap, every test, every traveling, and all that was worth it. I don't regret at all those years.
Häkkinen also grew a lot in 1998 as a person. He married his longtime girlfriend Yrjö in May and found a new level of maturity in his driving. After going 95 races without a victory, he learned to win from the front, often having to soak up immense pressure from Schumacher.
Obviously I had years when I did not win the races for many, many years. And I was fighting and finally now, 98, I started winning races and getting pole positions and finally got the World Championship. So all this, for me, it's very special.
Now Formula 1 has 4 world champions in the field. Häkkinen will defend his title with McLaren, but he's unlikely to enjoy the same early season dominance he had this year. Schumacher will again be the main rival, and it should be another classic battle.
I'm going to start the next year like I finished this year. But all depends how good the McLaren and the Mercedes, how good car they can build and how good the others can do, I don't know. So you cannot, of course, you cannot promise anything, but we target for winning.
Well, you really deserve it this year, Mika. You're a great champion. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
A very sporting world champion, no doubt about that. There's going to be a new team name on the grid next year. Jacques Villeneuve's the #1 driver. They're called British American Racing. One of the team bosses says they're going to win their first Grand Prix. Not easy in that company. Louise Goodman's been along to see how they're progressing so far.
For a team that hasn't produced a car yet, British American Racing has had a lot of launches. Firstly, it was the corporate logo, and then the purchase of Tyrrell and their 98 car. Now, after a season spent racing under the Tyrrell banner, the first BAR is about to break cover. The new car will be launched in early January at F1's newest HQ, but will it be any good? The answer lies here at the British American Racing factory near Silverstone. The design team have been working throughout the year and throughout Christmas to finish a car that's been touted as a winner from race 1. But is that a realistic proposition? It's not far off, according to boss Craig Pollock. He's hoping for points finishes.
This year we would have to be well up in the top 6 to be consistently competitive. We'd like to be winning races, but it doesn't necessarily mean going out and winning each and every race. We've just got to be up with the top runners all the time.
The promise of success is based on the reputation of the team's designer. All his single-seaters have won first time.
It's a great bit of history. I suppose at this stage of the game going into our first Formula 1 race, and it's an unfortunate bit of history because we're expected to repeat it again, but winning our first race is perhaps an unrealistic ambition, but I don't think it's such a bad thing to have unrealistic ambitions.
Unlikely, unrealistic maybe, but with Osler's record, a debut win isn't such a far-fetched idea. Jacques Villeneuve is equally determined, but it doesn't help when your friend and former manager is now your boss.
What we've tried to do is separate the two issues, and now he's in here as a driver. He's respected me as a manager, and there's no reason why he shouldn't respect me now as his managing director of the Formula 1 team.
The team is new, but the people aren't new. The people within the team have a lot of experience in Formula 1. And there's also people with new ideas, and I think that is needed.
So despite new cars, drivers and personnel, this is a team not short of confidence.
I'm not worried about it being unsuccessful. We will be successful. We've got a great bunch of people together. If we can continue to keep the team spirit that we have going, and we'll continue to get the budget, and we will be successful.
So that's it for 1998.
Don't put that on film.
Shovel.
Trousers are broken. Are you seeing it?
I hate running around in sweaty overalls, damp, wet.
It's embarrassing to I cannot continue anymore. I keep looking all the time. Just shut up. Shut up.
Well, we've seen all the space that the bosses operate in. What about the McLaren drivers? Well, they're back here. And... Hello, I'm good enough.
How daft does this look, Andy?
Well, here's Murray with all 4 answers. Here's Murray with the questions to all... Here's Murray with the answers to all 4 questions.
I have 2 cars under me and I have no brakes.
Do. We're at Magny-Cours in the middle of France, you know, just in the centre there. That brilliant win by Michael Schumacher at Budapest with the help of master tactician Rory Bremner. What made me say that? So that's it for 1998, a fabulous year full of excitement and drama. With lots of changes, 1999 could be even better.
Yes, we've just had 2 consecutive seasons where the championship was decided in the final few laps. Let's hope that happens next year too. Ferrari say they're definitely going to win it. We can't wait to find out. Meanwhile, Happy New Year.
Yep. Happy New Year, everybody.
I found out how to make him go faster.
Oh, have you?